Hello, my name is Gary Mansfield, and this is the Ministry of Arts podcast, where each week I'll be speaking to a different artist. Now let's begin by bagging these bongos.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast, which happens to be 257. Before we start, as ever, many thanks to our Patreon supporters and those of you that have made purchases on our merch store. We definitely would not be able to grow without you. Well, today you have the absolute pleasure of joining me as I spoke to abstract painter Jessie Woodward. She is quite a spontaneous and emotive painter, and she has an absolutely amazing eye for colour, which can be seen in joyous abundance in all of her works, and texture and pattern flow rhythmically along the canvas. Jessie is based in Bristol and is part of the Other Art Fair family, even showing in the good old US of A. Well, I think it's best I stop there and let Jessie herself give you some information. So please come and join me as I spoke to Jessie Woodward.
I'm trying to sort everything out because I'm doing an arts trail this weekend. There's a new arts trail in my area in Bristol, the BS4 arts trail, with loads of other artists and stuff taking part. So I'm having an open studio, so I'm trying to sort out the chaos.
Yeah, that's like when you're selling your home, isn't it? Having people come round to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so kind of hiding away all the stuff, all the ugly bits, and trying to get out all the paintings. And we've also got to tidy the garden as well, which is annoying. But
Wow. Well, I like going to like the open studios, and I like to walk into a studio as if they're still working in it. You know, there's still stuff everywhere, as it would be on a working day. That's what I prefer anyway.
yeah, no, I often think about that because I start thinking of it as more of an exhibition and showcasing work, but then I'm aware that people like to see the working space and what artists get up to and how they live their day-to-day life. So I'm trying to do a bit of both.
Allowing people to peek behind the curtain is always a bit daunting, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it's the life of an artist, isn't it? It's up for judgment, but yeah, no, it's all good.
Well, I've got several questions I ask each artist.
Mm-hmm.
And the first being, how would you explain what you do to someone that didn't know your work?
I mean, my main focus, I suppose, in my work, and I mean, it's purely abstract work. That's the kind of where I always start off. It's not representative. It's purely about the colour and the mark making and the process and producing the work and putting paintbrush to paper and canvas and seeing where it goes. All about exploring and looking at the language of paint and how we interpret things in different ways and how we use how I can kind of affect people's moods and emotions by looking at my work. It's an instinctive way of working, right? So it's completely instinctive painting. It's playing, it's exploring, it's experimenting, really focusing on colour. I'm as you've probably seen by my work, I'm not really afraid of colour.
No, most definitely not.
But that's kind of taken practice, I suppose. But I love colour, and one of the things I like about doing with my work is kind of making it as bright as possible, but without tipping over it's being garish, and kind of and getting that oh god, that jarring kind of reaction to me anyway. So even though I use fluorescent colours and neon colours and yeah, really kind of bright as possible, but to me they've still got to have some kind of balance and cohesion and almost a sense of, I don't really, it's not kind of they're not peaceful, but they're kind of pleasing. They still got like a pleasing kind of sense and composition to
Yeah, they've
them.
got to have a language, haven't they?
Yeah, yeah. So they kind of hit you in the face, but hopefully in a good way.
Yeah, that's what I felt when I saw your work. I'm always quite afraid of abstract
Mm,
because I can't do it. I've
mm,
tried. I always try to make sense of what is in there. I try to make a narrative, make a story of what's going on. And I know that that's may well be what you do anyway,
yeah.
with color, pattern, texture, and what have you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's what the kind of society has taught us to do,
Yeah,
right? Like
definitely.
one of my kind of things is always think, and actually I was thinking about this the other day, when my 4-year-old was in the studio with me, is what I'm trying to do is unlearn all the stuff that I've learned about
Exactly.
being restricted and gaining the innocence of the mark making back. And that takes practice. It takes practice to kind of go back to what we were doing when we were kids. And that kind of innocence and value of the mark and of kind of what you're doing, and not thinking about it too much. You know, we think too much about what the end product's going to be, or we think about too much about worrying about if it's going to be shit or not, or like it's like getting rid of the end result and just and like, well, I say focus, but trying to unfocus, I suppose, and live in the moment a bit more.
Yeah.
um,
So when
but
you
yeah.
approach, sorry, Jessie, when you approach a blank canvas, you've obviously got your palette of colours set out. Do you know what you are going to do on your next canvas?
There's I've always, to that question, I've always said no, but actually I don't know exactly what it's going to be like. But I might be, you know, when I'm lying in bed thinking about work, I might be thinking about a certain shape or a certain color combination or a certain like mark or whatever that is kind of come into me subconsciously or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'll think, oh yeah, that might be nice to play around with when I start painting again. But generally, no, I work on about 3 to 5 pieces at the same
I
time
saw that.
to keep that kind of fluidity and to
Yeah.
keep that kind of like stopping myself kind of focusing in too much. Um, and then it's all about kind of what colors I want to use, what marks I want to use, and then seeing where it goes. I mean, there's obviously a lot of decision making in it. It's not completely random. It's like following a feeling or following you know, a sense of what you think might work, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why there's a lot of layers in my painting as well, because I just kind of keep going until it all like falls together. um and
Well,
try and
I've seen a
yeah.
few clips of you like on Instagram when you're painting, and just seeing the freedom of your use of the brush.
Mm,
I get quite envious of that because as I say, because I can't do it. But I did see you working on the triptych as well,
mm.
and at least one point you had to think about your brush on the canvas and the marks it was going to make.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'm constantly standing back from the work. Like after every kind of mark or every kind of, you know, little bit I do, I'll stand back and look at it, and decisions I made then, absolutely, like in the moment, and what kind of mark and color I think will look good kind of where. But it's not like, there's definitely kind of decision making in kind of what I want it to look like.
Yeah.
It's not purely like that
No,
there,
it's not
whatever.
just spontaneous from mind to brush to canvas. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think especially with something that big, you know, you have to look back, right? You have to
Yeah.
stand back at it and see it as a whole. Um, but also, like with big work, it's trying to do bigger movements and bigger hand movements and brush movements, so you're kind of having that flow from one side to the other and
Mm.
making sure it all, you know, all works cohesively. Um,
So, what was your introduction into art? Did you have creativity in the home growing up?
yes, both my parents went to art school. They met at Falmouth Art School.
Nice.
So yeah, but they went into teaching. But yeah, definitely I was dragged around galleries as a child, kicking and screaming. And I don't think, actually, I've got two sisters as well, and we're all kind of in the creative industries, but I don't think my parents really expected that. But yeah, I ended up going to art school nearly 20 years ago now, I suppose. So I did an art foundation and did a degree.
Whereabouts was that, Jessie?
So I did my art foundation in Norwich, and I did my degree in Plymouth. Well, it was Plymouth University, but it was back then it was the Exeter campus. So the art faculty was Exeter, and then we moved to Plymouth in our third year, weirdly, but to the new campus. So it was great. I loved doing that.
What was you creating then?
Always abstract.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, always. I mean, obviously there's some modules you have to do, but well, I did fine art and art history joint honours actually, so I
Yeah.
always had kind of a theory bit as well. But yeah, it was always abstract work, and I played around materials. You know, did some collage. I used like wax, I think, and varnish a lot, and kind of playing around with organic shapes and organic materials. Drawing a lot. There was a charcoal. It's always been colourful, I think, as well, but it's kind of got brighter and brighter as I've gone along. But yeah, it's always been that kind of. I've got into kind of landscapey stuff, but also patterns in the environment, you know, that kind of thing. But actually, people say my work looks like a bit like that now, as like kind of cells and biology and micro kind of patterns in that kind of science world as well. So I kind of did a project in that because my work looked like that. But yeah, it's always been playing around with abstract work, really.
And how would the work as a student sit next to the work as you today?
Oh God, I don't know. It's a long time ago now. But actually saying that, I've got a folder, clearing out my studio. I've got a massive, you know, those big black folders full of uni work that I need to go through and do something with, but it's just hanging around. So it'd be interesting to go through that actually and see.
It's a funny old concept, that, isn't it? Because I don't know. I mean, you know, obviously you haven't looked through it properly as yet, but I've got a leather portfolio full of like my student work that I'm properly hesitant to get rid of. It doesn't mean anything to me, but there's something telling me not to throw it away.
Yeah, no, the same. You know, every time I move house, and it's ridiculously heavy. Like I can't put it in the loft. I can't lift it up into the loft. And I'm like, I really should just get rid of this. But yeah, the same. I can't bring myself to do it.
Your closet holder.
Yeah, exactly. With art, anyway. I think from uni, my work has become a lot freer because, like I said, it does take practice to kind of get into that. You know, I think probably my pieces are a bit more cohesive. But I think maybe they're a bit more varied. They're brighter, definitely brighter. They're bigger. The scale, I'm doing a lot, you know, really enjoying doing massive works now as well. But yeah, it's a development.
And does that mindset go into life as well?
I don't know, actually. I think maybe I can fall into sometimes being a bit too kind of controlling and worried about stuff. And so this is like more of an
the yin
escapism.
and yang sort of thing. Yeah.
I think I am a bit more, but then I am a bit more I am a bit chaotic as well. I don't know, I think a bit of everything really.
What happened after you left university? Did you work and then become an artist, or?
Yeah. So all my 20s I was working. Well, I went traveling, but yeah, I was working mostly, and I went into community and charity sector. So I was working for a disability arts charity in London. I interned first, as you did back then as well, and then finally went into paid employment. And then I kind of spent my 20s doing lots of jobs like that. I worked at the National Portrait Gallery as a visitor services assistant. I was an admin assistant for this charity. I then kind of went into community work and facilitator and coordinating the arts. So, and then the last job I had before I became a full-time artist was a community coordinator at Dulwich Picture Gallery in South London.
Yeah.
So I used to organise the workshops and community programs. So they used to run a community program, they probably still do actually, for older people with dementia. And I used to run youth programs as well for young people. So yeah, I was doing a lot of that. and kind of doing lots of bits and bobs at the same time. So I kind of like wasn't stopped practicing myself for a bit, for about 10 years, I suppose. Well, no, less than that, because I've graduated 8 years or something. And then I literally got that physical itch of like, I need to start doing my own work again. I
Yeah,
literally was
nice.
like, I need to, it's like, it's a really kind of overcoming, like, overwhelming feeling of like, I need to start doing my own thing. I need to start doing my own work. Because I was surrounded by other artists as well and doing all the kind of organizing, and I'm like, oh God, I need to
A
be the
little bit
artist.
of envy.
Yeah, and obviously I've studied it and stuff, and I just I actually coincided with having my first son. So when I was 30, I had my first son, and then on maternity leave, I used that time to start practicing again and exploring my own work. And luckily, he was quite a good sleeper at the time, so I was able to kind of like do a bit of in between kind of nap times and in between
Yeah.
do my own stuff. So yeah, I really got into it and basically haven't stopped since, and that was nearly 10 years ago now. Well,
Excellent.
so again, um so yeah, and then that kind of maternity leave was up, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go back to work. I want to I want to carry on. And obviously doing something like that is a massive risk,
Yeah,
but it just felt right at the time, and also it's kind of like logistics of things, like because I was working in community work, it's not very well paid, and
no.
so to put my son in childcare and go to work, I wasn't actually earning that much money anyway in the end after all the expenses. So I thought I'd give it a go, and it's worked out all right, luckily.
Well, that seems two opposites, really. Someone who is working with people and helping people,
Mm,
and the work of an artist is solitary. So
mm.
you must have missed that sense of community when you first started as a full-time artist.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. Yeah, at the beginning, definitely, because obviously it is such a isolating profession. But then as the kind of time went on, and I started doing, like, I think I did the other art fair in Bristol about, oh God, must be like 6 years ago now, maybe even more. I can't remember now. Um, and then from that and doing other art fairs and then doing exhibitions, and then you kind of like seek out your own,
Yeah,
community people, and you realize that there's people near you live who are also doing things and creative things and trying to be an artist, and like, and then in the end, so after about 10 years of doing this now, it's and also Instagram, Instagram provides all
yeah. That's a good.
people.
That can be a friend sometimes, can't it?
Yeah, and so I started. So yeah, it was isolating at first, but actually, I was so busy with being a new mum that actually having time to go and do my own work was really
Yeah.
nice.
Mind you, the feeling of community at the other art fair is really strong, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I've been doing it a while now, and I know quite a few artists. Quite, yeah, we meet up for kind of other events and let each other know what's going on, and it's a really good way of kind of letting people know other things that are happening, and supporting each other in kind of the best decisions to make and what stuff to go for and what not to go for, and
Yeah,
yeah, there's a really good crowd of people, really good bunch of artists that are really sound and really supportive of each other as
yeah.
well.
I know
um
you've done it in the States as well, haven't you?
So I did LA this year in April, which was a mad experience because, well, it's the first time I've been to America, so that was quite but yeah, LA is a strange, crazy place, but also a brilliant experience, and I'm really pleased I did that. I'd quite like to do New York next as well, though.
When's that?
Well, there's one at the end of this year, but I probably won't do that one. I'll consider doing New York. Well, applying for it anyway next year and see how that goes.
How did you find the difference in atmosphere at was it Santa Monica and UK?
It was a completely different venue because in Santa Monica, it's this massive air hangar thing.
Yeah.
So the place is huge, and you have to, everyone drives over there. You don't walk anywhere, so you kind of like drive up to this um, huge place. But there's still a good vibe. It's still like the other art fair do kind of do a good party vibe,
Yeah.
and it's all very cool, Yeah, it was a good mixture of people. It was quieter than I think it's usually been this year, but it was, yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun.
Well, I was speaking to someone just yesterday who said that they went to the Dallas other art fair,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and the atmosphere there, or the vibe there, was totally different to the UK.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
right. No, I thought it was I thought the LA one was quite similar to London, really, with the people and stuff. But oh yeah, what was Dallas one like then?
Oh, yeah, he said it was good, but it just
Yeah.
felt very different. Possibly, we were saying possibly because he knew a lot of the artists in the UK, and so because a lot of the time it's friendly faces and
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'd like to do that one as well. That'd be fun. And Chicago.
it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. But they're also it's like it's an experience, isn't it? It's
Was it beneficial being a Brit over there?
yeah, there was quite a few actually this time round. Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, I got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of people going, "Oh, are you from London?" And I'm like, "Oh, close." And yeah, it was really good. Got some, I mean, yeah, really good feedback on my work. Lovely people, great. They love to chat, so that's nice. And I left some work with a gallery, which was really cool. So that was good. And
Good.
they're going to take it to it's actually a gallery where the guy runs, well, he doesn't run it actually. He's part of, or he runs a gallery at Ohana Festival, which is like
Oh
a
yeah,
festival
yeah.
in South California. And I'd never heard of it, but apparently, yeah, he puts up all this work at the festival, and then people can buy there. So I was like, oh, wicked, that sounds really cool. So he's going to take some of my work there in September. So I'm quite
Nice.
excited to see how that goes. Because I thought that kind of model would have worked. Well, I don't know if it would work in Britain,
Yeah,
like
different, it's
here.
different
But
cultures, different outlooks, isn't it?
yeah, but in LA, I think their festivals are probably, quite a bit different to ours. And so he said it works really well. So I'm quite, excited to see how that goes, really.
Good. And a question that I ask each guest, Jessie, which piece that you've created has got the strongest emotional connection, be it with you or others?
Actually, it's funny you say that because there is this one piece that actually I made in, I think second year of university, maybe. And I really, really loved it. And it was kind of like after doing a lot of crap and playing around as a student, I kind of finally felt like I found um
Your
whatever I
voice.
was
Yeah.
doing was starting to work. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was starting to work and it was
Nice.
starting to be really good. And it was quite a big piece. I think it was like, I don't know, a metre and a half by a metre or something. So fairly big. And at that time I couldn't transport it home or whatever at the end of that year. And I had to clear out our studio. So actually my cousin lived in Exeter at the time. So he took it. And then I don't think I even took any photographs of it or anything at that because I just didn't think of stuff like that then. And then I think he had a friend that came over and ended up buying it. And I was like, oh, amazing. That's like, no, that's awesome. And then kind of sold it. And then I was like, oh no, I haven't got any photos of it. And I really loved it. And now I've got no idea where it is. And
Oh,
I probably could find out, obviously, like actually my cousin would might know this person still. But I always thought, oh, actually, I would have liked to have seen it again once before it had gone. I don't know. I feel like it was my first piece that I felt I was kind of knew a bit
yeah.
more what I was doing.
It validated what you've been doing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I have. There definitely are pieces that I have a stronger connection to that I really love, and some that I'm like, oh, I don't like that anymore at
Yeah.
all. Um, don't know
Well,
it, but because it is purely abstract work, it is kind of a connection that you can't really explain, right?
Well, I presume a lot of it is just in the
Yeah.
moment, how you're, how you're feeling in the moment is expressed in front of you on the canvas.
Yeah, yeah. And some pieces just work really well, I think, and some not so well. But
Do you listen to music in the studio, Jessie?
yes, I do, but I also do listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of people chatting.
Yeah.
So my focus isn't always solely on my work. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, does the genre of music affect what goes on the canvas?
People have asked me that before, and I don't think, I mean, there's always kind of external influences that could be subconscious, right? Um, that I'm not purpose that might affect what goes on the canvas, and I'm not so aware of it. But I don't know. I'm not that kind of person who's like, oh, I want to do something flowy, so I listen to serene music. Or I'm going to listen to some heavy metal and do some angry marks. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel that way. But then also, actually, quite often, if there's something on that is irritating me and distracting me from the zone of painting that I'm in, I'll turn it off.
Yeah.
Actually, the zone I'm in for doing what I'm doing at that moment on the canvas, if the music is affecting that, then I'll turn music off because I don't want
Yeah.
it to affect what I'm doing at that moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is quite mad, actually, that you can take in practice and
Yeah.
listen to a podcast at the same time, isn't it? That's quite mad that are able to do that. But I suppose it stops you from concentrating on your work too much, especially for me, when I don't want to be overthinking it too much. It is kind of a good balance of distraction. But
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. That's weird, actually, because my sister, who has studied for years now, but whenever she has to do essays or coursework or whatever, she'll have like Lord of the Rings on in the background. And I'm like, how the hell can you concentrate write an essay with that going on in the background, the TV on? But I suppose it's
Yeah.
a similar thing. It's just words and pictures are different. But I couldn't do it if I was writing an essay, though. I wouldn't be able
No,
to
I
write.
have to have silence for that.
Yeah,
I'm a bit of a pain when I'm doing any writing. It has to be dead quiet,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Jessie, if there was you and 5 other artists, past and present, what would your ideal group show be?
Oh my goodness. Well, my ultimate favorite is Gillionaires. Um, Obviously, painterly, gestural, color, inspiration. Yeah. Howard Hodgkins as well.
Nice.
There's always been people have always said that they can see in my work.
Yeah, I can see that.
Uh, oh God, 5. That's quite a lot. David Hockney's laugh. I've heard. um, oh, I don't know.
You sort of laughed there because you was sort of putting yourself in the same room as those people. But if they're the ones who influence you and they appear in your work, that's what it is. It's an influence, isn't it? And that obviously happened to them as well,
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite funny. I don't like think about. I go to galleries quite a lot when I can. I go to exhibitions when I can, but I don't think I don't. There's one of these artists that sits in my studio, like looking at other artists, kind of catalogs and stuff. And I always think maybe I should do a bit more of that. And because there are a lot of artists that I love. I went to a really good show actually at the Whitechapel Gallery, which was all about abstract women in abstract art, which was like, yeah, great exhibition, loved it. So I kind of like get a lot of inspiration from kind of going to shows when I can.
Mm.
But I think I should probably look at a few more books.
No, but I've spoken to several artists on here who can't even do the one. They
Yeah,
say that they just don't look at other art.
yeah,
They make
yeah,
their art, and that is it.
yeah, yeah. There is that, I suppose, because it's and I suppose there's an element of like what of taking inspiration from other artists and even artists, from like when you do other art fair and stuff, you have to walk around and look at other people's work. But you don't want to, you want to, and you kind of be subconsciously influenced, but I don't want to be focused on something and obviously, yeah, and accidentally recreate it or something, or,
But that's easily done though, Jessie, isn't it? And that could be an advert going past on the bus. then all of a
Yeah,
sudden that appears in your work and you go, oh, that's where it come from.
yeah,
It's,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I think you're right. It's not necessarily other artists' work, it's just everything, isn't
yeah.
it, that inspires us
Yeah,
and influences.
especially when you've got a creative mind, because your subconscious is creating, looking for creativity everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can tell an artist when they're like, oh, look at that color and that color next to each other. Or actually, I suppose a designer or interior designer. But yeah, I do get a lot of pleasure from looking at color combinations out in the wild. Yeah, it's funny actually. It's like my dad, who's a joiner. Well, a joiner works with wood, and he walking along the street and he'll look up and say, oh, look at those windows, and I'm like, "Ah, what? Look at the windows."
I
So,
do
oh,
that
yeah.
all the time.
So yeah, we've all got our thing, haven't we?
Oh, of course, of course. And what would you do, Jesse, if you wasn't an artist, do you think?
Well, I nearly went into teaching, but
Art, I
teaching,
presume.
yeah, yeah, or primary, I suppose, yeah, or yeah, teaching. But teaching is a tough, tough job. So, but yeah, if I think that was my plan. And or working in a gallery. But actually, I don't think there is anything else that would have suited me apart from doing this. Like, it's not. I'm not saying that I've always wanted to be an artist. Well, because actually, we weren't taught that that was even an option when we were young. Like,
No,
you don't.
no.
I didn't think that was a job. At school or anything. Um, so it's all kind of happened gradually and fallen together, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't see myself doing anything else now. Anyway. Uh,
Well, I've said on here many a times, but I always thought an artist was a white middle class man who spoke like a poet. I
Yeah.
didn't think it could be a lad like me off a council estate.
Yeah, let alone a female.
Exactly that. Exactly. Yeah. See, that never even crossed my mind then.
Yeah, it's mad. And I think, well, I just don't really think you see how you can make money out of it. I mean, it is difficult. It's hard work. But there's lots of other avenues out there now to kind of to try and be an artist. But
Yeah,
it's
most definitely.
it's the business side of it, isn't it? Which is the stuff you have to kind of learn yourself and pick
Yeah.
up and go along. Um,
Which is what many people who have left university, so many people have said, I wish there was a module in university to say, this is the other stuff you have to do. This is the admin. This is
uh,
the business side of it, like you just said.
um,
I
yeah.
know that the university's place isn't there to make business folk, but I think that shouldn't just be taken for granted that we know or expected to know how to do that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's similar to school, isn't it? I wish they'd taught us how to do a tax return or pay a bill or
Yeah,
write a CV or whatever. Like it's all those kind of life skills, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, uni, it was very much about kind of your own practice, and there's not a lot of practical. I don't know if there is, if well, when I studied anyway, I don't know if there is now. University does kind of give you a bit more advice on the business side of things. Because yeah, obviously it's massively important, isn't it?
Mm.
Mm.
Even if it was, I don't know, maybe an online thing or just an extra thing outside of the curriculum, where
Yeah,
they just said, look, here's just a day of, this is what to expect outside of just painting and selling.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the painting bit gets kind of smaller and smaller as you kind of go on, because you've got more admin to do, more like
Yeah. But even
more.
Instagram turns into admin in the end.
Oh
That's as
God.
if that's a part of your practice.
Well, yeah, Instagram's been really good for me, but yeah, I probably still put too much time into it.
Exactly. Exactly that. And have you got anything coming up?
Yeah, so like I said, I've got the BS4 Arts Trail this weekend. So I am opening up my studio. So if anyone lives in the Bristol area or surrounding areas, I am doing an open studio from 10 till 5, Saturday and Sunday. So you can come and have a look at my space, and got lots of work available. And yeah, like I said, there's loads of other artists around the area as well.
Sorry, I should have said this won't be out for a few weeks anyway.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. That's fine. I'm doing the urban. I don't know what I can't remember what date it is now, but it's the Urban Art Fair in Brixton in July. I don't know if I
Nice.
can't top of my head, but it's the first time I've done that. So that'll be good. Hopefully if it's good weather. And then I've got a few things. I'm doing the Manchester Art Fair for the first time in
Oh
November.
yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I've seen that advertised a few times. Never been to it.
No, I haven't. And I've been meaning to kind of try and get into it for the last few years. So I'm quite chuffed that I'm doing it this year. And there's a few other artists I know that are doing it. It looks like a pretty cool one.
Yeah,
I'm
it's got
quite
a
like.
decent reputation, hasn't it?
Yeah. I've applied for the other art fair in London again. Haven't heard about that, but that would be in October. Possibly the affordable again, and then a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, this year's been pretty good, really. We've had quite a lot going on. Yeah, and things are kind of on the up, so I'm excited.
Do you prefer doing an art fair to showing in a gallery?
It's a bit of both, really. I like a bit of both. It's nice. The art fairs are really nice because, like you said, the community and like seeing other artists and being able to talk to people yourself about your work and getting out of the studio and seeing people's reactions, on first hand. And also you get that like massive buzz when you sell a piece if you're doing it yourself as
Yeah,
well, right? If
yeah.
you're there and then you see the person taking it away, it's like, it's a really good feeling. But then galleries are really good for kind of I mean, it's nice that galleries acknowledge that they want to sell your work. They can open up new audiences for you. I did the affordable art fair in Hampstead in March for the first time. Was that March? April? May.
Because I find that the affordable art fair has got a different vibe to most other art fairs, probably because it's like a gallery based exhibition, as it were,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I went to the private view for that one in Hampstead. Yeah, and it's definitely a different vibe to the other art fair, but I think it's just good to do a bit of everything, really, isn't it? Yeah, and just be amongst everything that's going on. So yeah, doing a bit of
Nice.
everything.
Good. And for anyone that may not be able to get to an art fair, how can people see what you do online, whether it be social media or website?
Well, Instagram, I am on it every day, unfortunately. I'm trying to pull myself off it a little bit, but when it's your business as well, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, my Instagram is at Jessie Abstract, which I set up 8 years ago, and it probably should be just be my name, but I feel like I can't change it now. So it's
Yeah. Made a rod for your own back now.
I know. So I'm always on there, and anyone can just DM me, and that's fine. It is just me. And I put all kind of my recent work up and stuff. I do have a website as well, which is jessiewoodward.co.uk. And I have original works on paper up there. I'm actually currently working on a new collection, so I'm going to release that on my website next month, hopefully, if I get it all finished. So yeah.
Saying that about Instagram, I saw that you had some works on A4 paper.
Yeah.
Does it have a different language, your abstract work, be it on A4 compared to a larger canvas?
Yeah, it does. I suppose it's a simplicity of it. And I
Yeah,
suppose it's more the smaller works are a purer form of a mark, like because it is just kind of one or two marks or limited color palette. It is a bit more considered. And it is a bit more, well, it's still spontaneous and instinctive, but and even more so, I suppose, actually, because I'm just kind of whatever the first three things I think work
yeah,
together. Um, it's very quick. Yeah, it's kind of that appreciation of that one mark that stands out.
yeah. Because it's exactly the same thought process, work like scaling down, as it is if you was to make one of your paintings a mural on the wall.
Mm,
I find both quite intimidating, going
mm.
a lot smaller or a lot bigger than the sort of mental size we give ourselves to work on.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with the smaller pieces. I mean, I think I've done about 10, but I do them all at the same time. So I'm not like, and if one doesn't work, you just chuck it, or you paint over
Yeah,
it, or you
yeah,
cut it up and use it in a collage or something. I think that's what I've learned over time. That's what I've learned since doing this, is not to be precious about stuff.
yeah,
Um, and just otherwise, if you're afraid or if you're too worried about something, you're never going to kind of progress. I mean, not saying that I don't ever feel like that. I still get like that, and there
yeah.
are some days where I'm like, oh God, I'm not feeling it, or
But you've got
um,
to allow for the Bob Ross happy accident, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. I think that's what all my work is about, actually. Happy accidents, yeah.
Well, Jessie, that's a great place to end, that's for sure. Jessie, thank you very much for your time.
Oh no, thank you.
See you later
See
on.
you.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast. It's a podcast that's produced with the help of the listener. And if you like what you've heard and you think you might be able to give a little support, there's 2 ways in which you can do it. If you go over to the Ministry of Arts Instagram profile, you'll find a Linktree drop-down box. And in that box, you'll find 2 links. One is called Buy Us a Coffee, and it's pretty much that. You can make a one-off payment, the price of a cup of coffee. Or, if you're able and want to do it more long-term, you can become a Ministry of Arts Patreon, where you can sign up to support us on a monthly basis. And 100% of your support goes back into the podcast. And if you're not able to do that, that's absolutely fine. This content is free for everyone. But we would urge you to follow us on your socials and show us a bit of love that way. Either way, thanks for listening and see you next time. Ta-da.